Hello and welcome to the 26th episode of the ExtremeHW Podcast. Today we have a bigger crew than usual, and we have some interesting topics to get into. Mainly making fun of Chris this time, which is brilliant. So, without further ado, we have our guest, our very important Mr. Folding Man, Axipher. I think I'm saying it right.
Hello, and yes, that is correct.
There we go. Joining us as well, we have our usual hooved companion, Mr. Flirtatious Friculus Froculus.
Oh, God.
I'm pretty sure you've used that one before.
I've never heard that.
Not.
Frank, please be flirtatious with me.
I don't think that's legal.
Joining us as well, we have Simmons, Axipher's folding partner in crime.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I just bother him a lot.
Simmons, have you heard about my Lord and Savior folding at home?
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. The next guest.
Oh.
No.
So speaking of the next guest, well, I suppose the one of the next
Our
guest.
next guest is folding at home himself.
It's a giant protein strand.
Oh, hello, Chris. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm folding at home. We're doing okay.
Joining us for a rare occasion, we have our Norwegian Bad Bull.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Bad Bull.
Morning.
And sadly, Andrew's also joining us, but whatever. Anyway.
Rude. Wow. Rude.
Moving on. Seeing as how we tried to invite the folding at home protein on, I think Axipher and Simmons, you both have to tell us, or have something to tell us, with regard to our Lord and Savior, the folding protein man.
Actually, do you want to talk about it, or do you want me to talk about it?
Oh, you can go ahead and start, and I can jump in.
So yes, as we have mentioned the past couple of weeks, Extreme Hardware now does have a folding team, Team 239902, if I'm remembering that correctly.
That is correct.
Recently, we have announced that we are going to be starting a folding competition on the site. The first round of the folding competition, I do not believe we have a start date yet, but there will be giveaways for any participants who fold for the team and meet the constraints that we will be establishing soon.
Have we announced a giveaway yet? What kind of free stuff can I get?
We literally just announced it, Chris.
Oh, okay.
I quite literally just said that.
That was
wait, no.
30 seconds.
No. That's not. Have we announced the prizes yet? I want to know what kind of free
Chris,
stuff I'm
he
getting.
literally just said we can't announce the prizes yet because we don't know.
Oh, well, that shows how much attention I'm paying.
Yeah, and you haven't even had any podcast juice. What's your excuse this time?
His two functioning brain cells have been distracted.
You're too busy folding in his head.
Yeah.
Pull the smoothness out of that brain.
Yeah.
What you need to do.
Unfold my wrinkly brain.
So in other folding news, the team has currently, we are now currently ranked at 2,180. We're aiming to get into the top 800 teams at some point due to a goal that I have set. And
Nice.
Yeah, and
Now,
Axipher
why
keeps
the
trying to-
top 800?
Okay. So the big thing is we primarily use ExtremeOverclocking.com's folding database when trying to help people provide accurate data for what they have folded and stuff along those lines. Axipher is actually our lead developer and admin of our folding stats site, and I was trying to get us to rank 800 so we could take some stress off of him, but he's like, no, why don't I just do this instead?
Aw, that's nice of you, Simmons, for not torturing Axie, I guess.
I mean, I've already been bothering too much over the past several months anyway, so
Oh, no, I mean, when it comes to folding, we can count on you to do that.
yeah. But I guess actually, while we're on that topic, would you mind telling us a little bit of your experience on, folding backend and what you're doing for Extreme Hardware?
Yeah, so I've been doing folding stats sites, I guess, since 2011 now. So it's coming on almost 10 years. My God.
Yeah, right.
Well, it's pretty crazy. And for the most part, the backend isn't the complicated part. It's some basic database import stuff from Stanford. They're nice enough to give little flat CSV files of all the stats. It's more of up to us or sites like Extreme Overclocking to do all the actual parsing of the data, storing it, doing trending, like points per day, weekly averages, monthly averages, team averages, all that stuff, graphing, all that pretty stuff that gets all the gamers involved. So I'm hoping that either Extreme Hardware is going to be looking at doing some actual proper development of a full stat site that should hopefully not require us to use extreme overclocking and tailor it more to our own competitions and hopefully drive more folding. We're currently at 8 active folding people on the entire team. So that's plenty of time to get in there and get to the top of the Extreme Hardware leaderboards.
Yeah, what I would suggest is not folding on your laptop like me. I just wanted to see how many PPD it got, and
Not enough.
I could fold on all of one core.
Oh boy.
And I got about 2,000 PPD. Would you believe that?
That's actually better than I was expecting.
I know you're really jealous of my PPD here.
Is it bound
Ping
Big
2,000.
versus the PP.
or is it bound for GPU?
So
I don't have a GPU, so it's kind of CPU bound for my laptop.
yeah, it definitely depends on what laptop you have. Like my office laptop has a Quadro 2000 in it. It's the mobile version nonetheless,
Nice.
but it still hits 100K PPD versus my desktop CPU that can barely break about 10,000. But there are a lot of new work units that are coming out that are going to be CPU only. So
Interesting.
don't write off CPU folding
What
yet.
is it with?
A little bit more power requirements, a little bit more heat and loud. But I mean, right now it's research for a good cause. So if you can afford the electricity and heat, I'd say maybe keep CPU folding on if you can.
What would be the benefit
And
of
if you're in Canada.
a CPU folding unit and a GPU folding unit? And is one more useful than the other one?
Well,
I think CPU folding's more for more accuracy required tasks.
That's just how it
Yeah.
works
Yeah.
out. Some stuff's easier to parallelize than the others. I mean, here's the deal. I mean, you're not going to be disregarding accuracy in scientific compute. Like, this isn't like gaming where you can just say, well, we can discard these primitives. It doesn't matter. And go up on the scene as like visually objective. You just cannot do that with
From
this
the-
kind of.
yeah, from the folding perspective, back around before 2014, GPU and CPU folding was about equivalent performance. The GPUs weren't really brute forcey enough to match the performance.
And then they killed Big Advantage.
Yeah, so on that note, there used to be a special kind of CPU work unit that was just a very high production output work unit that was only for CPUs. And then when that project finally ended for Stanford, they killed it. And as GPUs got faster and faster, that was around the point where we started seeing GPUs hitting 200 to 500,000 PPD, which was obscene at the time and still is, in my opinion. And now we're at a point where on my 1900X, if I fold on 14 threads, I look at around 100,000 PPD versus my 1080, where it was sitting at a 1 million PPD earlier today.
I mean,
So-
100,000 PPD, that's as good as my 780, and that's a very high-end 2013 GPU.
I was going to say, just because I know that you like to tweak stuff, overclocking is really beneficial, especially on the GTX 780. That's one of the best overclocking
Oh,
GPUs
yeah,
I've
I'm
ever
actually on
used.
Windows now, so I can do that. What did I get? I think it's an MSI Lightning.
What the GPU or the
Yeah, the one that I got. I don't remember which 780 I have.
the 780 Lightning was a fantastic GPU as well, so just in general.
I think that's it. One of the fans is broken, so that's a minor issue. that I'll
Just
have
do what
to
I
deal
did and
with.
strap a couple Delta fans to your 980.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, first up, I need to get a 980.
No.
Yeah, but no, I remember a lot of people were very upset once Big Advantage went away, because I know a couple of people who built like 4P G34 systems. That was AMD's
Opteron.
that was their last real Opteron platforms. They made like a few Opteron branded platforms, so that was the last big boy. quad socket, 8 NUMA nodes, like it was effectively an 8-piece system, because it was like dual die processors, and 64 cores.
Yeah.
It was like 8 FX 8350s just stapled together into one system. They were insane, and lots of people got them, and then they weren't very good anymore.
And I really got into folding around the time when Big ADV died. So like I was watching these build logs of people building these insane 4P. I even saw one 8P system where somebody just salvaged an old server and was like, "Hey, this is in my house now and it's folding."
Oh, was it a Socket F server?
I think so.
Yeah. The funny thing about Socket F and G34, actually, Socket F to G34 to Naples, the first gen Epic, it's exactly as many NUMA nodes. Like, it's 8 NUMA nodes each time. It's just condensed into progressively fewer sockets.
One last tangent before we go on to our first real topic. Since Axi's here, I've actually wanted to mention this. Remember when I did get the Delta fans and the Morpheus cooler for my 980? I think you may have seen the photos.
Oh yeah, the good old Delta 3000s, the Gentle Typhoon 1850s, the Scythe Causies, when those were big. Oh, I miss those days.
Well, the Deltas that I've got are the 6200 RPM server 120 millivolts, and they require, I think, 2 amps for each fan.
Per fan.
So obviously I wasn't going to be plugging that into the motherboard. That would kill the fan controller. So I ended up getting one of those external fan controllers that you mounted in the one of the PCI Express expansion slots, and then there's just a knob on the back. I blew up the MOSFETs on one of those from drawing too much power. So I ended up having to splurge a little bit on this 4 individually controlled fan controller from, I think, not Rajentech. It's an L company. I'm blanking on it, but regardless, it's just enough.
Probably Lian Li, but I don't know.
No. I'll look it up if you even care. But
Lian Li makes some goofy stuff, but that doesn't sound like the kind of goofy stuff they make.
It was like oh shoot, yeah. I'm gonna look it up and I'll send the link so you guys can see it later. It's not really worth talking about, but I did want to throw that out there. I've blown up a fan controller due to folding at home.
It's a badge of pride.
Yeah, that would never happen with SETI at home, but anyway.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is SETI at home like a alternative for
I think, dude, there's a concept.
Search for extraterrestrial intelligence at home. It's the same kind of distributed computing project.
It's a bunch of nerds from UC Berkeley who decided they wanted to see if they could contact aliens, so they hooked up a bunch of computers to do it.
Well, Frick, I think you know a guy who can help them out.
Right.
We're not going to talk about him.
Yeah, moving on.
Oh, goodness. Moving on. Wow. So do you want to introduce our first real topic then? Chris, seems how you're paying so much attention.
Oh, yeah. The first real topic. My neighbor's an idiot. My car needs a new door.
Right. Okay. Well, we could do that. We could go straight to the tangent topic.
I thought you were going to make fun of me for that.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to, but you know what? We're there now, so might as well.
Yeah.
Go for it, Chris.
Oh, yeah. You're right. I shouldn't park on the street when there's no parking sign.
So what happened, Chris? Why do you have several shiny new holes and dents in your Corolla?
Well, neighbor's an idiot. I don't know. Does this count as libel if they don't know who I am? That's probably fine.
Well, okay, just explain the scenario. Why was your car parked in the road?
Because we're in the midst of a pandemic and we're doing housework because, I don't know, we live in hell. I do, at least.
So you're parked in the road and what happened?
Well, I was upstairs and I thought, hey, I should probably move my car because everybody has left. And then I heard a crunch and then I went downstairs and there was a neat new dent in my car.
Oh.
Yeah, so because he's doing
probably should have moved it earlier.
I was going to say, seeing as he's really bad at telling the story, his neighbor backed out of the driveway, wasn't paying attention, backed a pickup truck into his rear, what was it, passenger side door?
Driver's side door.
Oh, okay, well. Yep, so he now needs a new door.
Yeah.
How long have you owned this car for, Chris?
Well, the temporary tag expired on April 8th, and I got the license plate and installed it 6 hours prior to that incident.
and how many miles are on that car?
Under 900 at the time.
Not even 1,000.
Not even 1,000 miles.
And she has the audacity to be upset at you.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She was very upset because I used the F word to describe the door, which, to be honest, is actually a perfectly valid use of that word. Because the door was indeed rather F worded.
It was fricked.
It was.
Yes.
Yeah, it was frick-frocked.
No, he had French doors on the car. That's totally normal.
Yeah, my door got frick-frocked. So yeah, she got her sister to call my mom to complain about me because I still live with my parents, and I guess she thought I was a child.
Oh man, I sound like that. That's almost a good excuse.
Which is funny.
You can just pretend like you have the. Oh, never mind.
Oh yeah, I don't have to pretend, buddy.
All right.
I got documentation and everything.
No, all right.
Going documentation of the office.
Anyway, moving on from Chris's unfortunate demise, we have some better news.
God, I wish I had been in the car. I might have died.
Wow. That was
I was
really
waiting
quick.
for it.
So, are you guys tired of how everything just keeps moving forward? Well, introducing DDR5 with more numbers, more things, more bits, and more mega things.
Yeah, when are they releasing DDR Online? Is that going to come later? And when are they going to have heists?
I don't get it. Why don't you just download more RAM?
That's a very 2013 meme.
Wow, thanks, Reddit.
Is that website even?
Oh, there.
I'm gonna check.
Wow.
1 second.
Okay. Anyway, DDR5 is supposed to be coming soon. What a big shock by SK Hynix. Basically, SK Hynix is saying that it's going to increase bandwidth, have higher scalability, higher performance, higher throughput.
Do we have
cetera,
any
et
numbers
cetera.
yet?
Roughly, yes. So DDR4 is, I mean, they said it's 1600 to 3200 megahertz, which is weird because it kind of starts at 2133. Anyway, DDR5 is supposed to be 3200 to 8400 megahertz.
Yeah, to be clear, although we're seeing like DDR4 4000 kits, I don't think the JEDEC standard actually goes above 3200. So
No.
that would make sense.
Yeah, but I'm like it came out at 2133. Anyway,
Yeah.
Density has doubled, which is kind of neat. Looking at 8, 16, 24, 32, and 64 gig DIMMs. On die, ECC is now standard, and the voltage
Really? Okay.
standard is down from 1.2 volts to 1.1 volts, and the VPP is down from 2.5 volts to 1.8 volts. So quite a bit of energy savings focused, but also doubling in density.
Yeah, density is kind of a big deal. What does that bring us up to? Like 64 gigabytes for a normal DIMM, like without doing one of those weirdo like double
Weird
stack
double
DIMMs?
Yeah. So you can have a 64 gig single DIMM, which means in theory you could have a 128 gig double DIMM. But
God, you
have
could do
60
256 gig in an ITX build.
I guess the big news there would be much higher capacity single rank DIMMs for overclocking as well.
Ooh, yeah.
One important thing is same bank refresh in plus more banks, so you can refresh a bank and access another bank without issues.
Yeah, that's true.
That means it scales more with more cores more easily, so your channels were fine.
Alex, explain to me the on-die ECC, because what I remember is that regular ECC DIMMs since I'll go into that later. Just what's the on-die ECC doing exactly?
I don't really go into much of it other than explaining what ECC is, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
Well, isn't the
thanks.
main difference that ECC before had to be handled by a separate chip on the DRAM module, or now it's going to be handled by the actual memory dies themselves?
I didn't think you needed an extra. I mean, you needed an extra chip for parity, but that's just extra capacity. I don't think you needed like an extra controller chip. You need them for like LRDIMMs, that kind of thing. But well, regardless, I do know one of the interesting changes is that each DDR5 channel is now 32 bits instead of 64 bits. So that means that if you do ECC like traditionally, where you have like the extra chips, you now need to use 10 instead of 9. That's I think that's part of the spec.
So the on-chip thing is referring to the parities on the chip. You don't need the extra chip for parity, basically. That's what it's referring to.
That's really
well, in
nice,
that case,
honestly.
I would expect it to be standard across every platform, but knowing how Intel especially is, I don't think that's going to be the case.
Well, I mean, with the DDR5 spec, it allows them to actually just do it correctly now. So
I guess.
I mean, because I don't, and now that they're advertising, hey, this is now a thing, people are going to start freaking out when it's not a thing. So
yeah, it heckin' better be standard because there's no reason to not have ECC. Like honestly, in most like consumer type workloads, you really don't need it. Hell, even in most server workloads, I don't think it's that important.
But when you're looking at it from the enthusiast perspective, like ECC memory is not great for overclocking for a good reason.
Well, yeah, because it's a wider bus.
Yes.
So simple as that. It's a wider bus.
Yeah, the latency increase from ECC is not great. So, yeah, I mean, if it's just architected in a way where DDR5 ECC is just maybe add another capacitor here, and maybe it'll enable something on the controller that actually utilizes it, that's actually pretty cool, and that'll cut the cost of development and production.
Yeah, it would be pretty neat. Also, honestly, it would be nice to have consumer level support for ECC if you want it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Intel had it on the Pentiums up until Kaby Lake, and apparently they brought it back at some point, but that was not a very well-known thing, and I think you also needed like a C-series server motherboard. You couldn't just like plop it in a Z270 board or something.
No, that's not accurate. It wasn't just the Pentiums, but it was also the i3s up until I think 50.
Oh, really? i3s as well? Okay. Yeah, because I mean, Intel didn't really make dual-core Xeon E3, so they're not cannibalizing market share from Xeon because that's just their dual-core cheapo server option.
No, because I remember when I was getting to the DIY server world, everybody was recommending i3s for entry level because they're cheap, they support ECC. Do it.
Yeah.
Basically.
Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure like basically every one of AMD's CPUs just supports it, but nobody actually sells it.
Yeah, it's a bit of just a mess to get into right now. Anyway, moving on from...
Anywho.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Chris, do you want to talk about the Intel CPU?
What's a new Intel CPU?
10th Gen Comet Lake H series.
All right. Well, let's see. What are we doing here? Oh, yeah. For laptops, yeah, I saw that. It boosts to 5.3 gigahertz with a big friggin' asterisk after it. What do we got? This is from TechSpot. Intel launches 10th Gen Comet Lake H series CPUs for high-end gaming laptops and productivity. Or in other words, the kinds of laptops that can actually have lots of cores in them and run above 500 megahertz.
Unless it's a MacBook, and then it will just thermal throttle down to nothing.
And then it thermal throttles below that. So how does this start? We've already seen the Comet Lake U series come to market last year, targeting the ultra portable space. So this is just rounding out Intel's lineup with 45 watt parts. As this is Comet Lake, we are still getting 14 nanometer cards. Oh yeah, it's still Grandpa Skylake, which came out in 2015.
Is it still?
Yeah. Yeah, it's still like Skylake derived core. Like it is not Sunny Cove.
This is what is it because they just don't care anymore? Like what?
It's because they cannot backport Sunny Cove, and 10 nanometer ain't doing volume production just yet.
Yeah, they're still struggling with that.
That's okay, because here's the deal. A 10th gen CPU is loads better, like in terms of like top speed and in terms of like VF, really just in terms of VF curve. it's just a dramatically improved process. Like, this is loads faster than original Skylake, so I don't inherently mind that it's still the same. It sucks, but
I mean, the way I see it is they're still refining the process to bump up the IPCs, bump up the frequency, bump up the efficiency. So it's not like they're shafting the industry by utilizing the same process idea. It's just it is continuously improving. We're just not seeing them move to 10 nanometer or 7 nanometer yet. So
here's what I meant about they're improving the VF curve. So Intel TDP. The TDP is the number that means Intel is guaranteeing that all cores will run at the base clock at or below this power number. The i9-10980, God, I hate these 5-digit names. The flagship chip, the 10980HK, which is unlocked, hence the K, has a base clock of 2.4 gigahertz on 8 cores at 45 watts. You can't really do that on OG Skylake. Like, it's not going to be that good. In addition, maximum single core boost clock, 5.3 gigahertz, which is insanely fast. And yeah, sure, that's on 1 core. And yeah, sure, it's not going to be sustaining that forever, probably. But that's still really good. Like, in certain burst performance, they are offering laptop chips that exceed 5 gigahertz. Which is just nuts.
That overclocking insurance that they offer for the Dexbot line.
Oh, is that a thing? I thought like everybody just tacitly agreed you overclock it, and if you burn it out, you don't tell anybody when you send it in for RMA.
Intel has a program where it's like a warranty program for overclocking, where if something gets borked or something happens to the chip, like there's some sort of they have a program for overclockers. And I just wonder if that would extend to the laptop line.
I've actually never heard of the program. That's interesting.
I wouldn't be surprised if it did. I also wouldn't be surprised if they just shoveled that off onto the OEM. Like, hello, Lenovo, deal with this idiot now, thanks. Also, Intel is now making thermal velocity boost much more common. So, like, back in the old days, Intel boost clock relied on power budget and time. So, like, as the CPU used X watts for Y seconds, well, time to throttle back. With thermal velocity boost, what happens is it's now reliant on temperature. So as long as this CPU is below 85 degrees, Celsius, of course, it will hit 5.3 gigahertz, or rather, it will be able to hit 5.3 gigahertz. Once it exceeds that, it drops to 5.1. But that's still incredibly fast, and that's still much faster than the last gen part as well, by like 300 megahertz. But one of the things that does, that gives you incentive to actually cool your laptop properly, because a lot of laptops have problems with this. I've seen like horror stories on Reddit where it's like, well, I opened up Speed Fan and it said my CPU was running at 105 degrees. I had Chrome open.
I put the link in the chat. They call it the Intel tuning plan, is what it's called.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
But either way, it's your same old chip. 2 megabytes of L3 cache per core, 8 cores on a ring bus, Skylake, DDR4 2933. Is that new? I'm not sure if that's new. I haven't really paid attention to memory clocks because I just don't care.
2933 was one of the incremental increases because the 3000 is the golden standard right now for like XMP based overclocked memory.
I mean, you can always throttle back the frequency by 60.
But 2933 is just one of the incremental step ups. So, like 2133 to 24, so on and so forth.
Yeah. So what else do they have? Intel has also disabled undervolting on 10th gen CPUs in response to a vulnerability called Plundervolt.
What?
Undervolting was a common way for users to get more performance out of their laptop CPUs. Oh yeah, that would make sense because laptop CPUs boost based on power budget if you undervolt. Power consumption of a semiconductor, generally speaking, like CPU, memory, GPU, whatever, is proportional to the square of the voltage. So if you double the voltage, you quadruple the power. Don't actually double the voltage, that will fry things. But anyway, you turn the voltage down to lower the power so you can get more performance, blah, blah, This won't be. They don't explain what Plunderbolt is.
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
I don't remember what that was. Hang on. I saw a blurb about it, and now I've forgotten.
Thanks.
Let's see. ZDNet, their source. What do we got? The attack, which researchers have named Plunderbolt. Oh, God, it's that one. Intel SGX, I believe, is cursed. I think it's SGX. Maybe it was TSX. Intel has some cursed instructions. Academics from 3 universities across Europe have disclosed today a new attack that impacts the integrity of data stored inside Intel SGX, a highly secure area of Intel CPUs. Oh, was this part of Management Engine? I think it might be.
Yeah, I think
the attack exploits the interface through which an operating system can control an Intel processor's voltage and frequency. So Intel's patch for this is just lock out that feature, which, I mean, fair enough, that works, but that also kind of sucks.
Yeah.
They can alter bits inside SGX to cause errors that can be exploited at a later point after the data has left the security. Ooh, so that can be used to recover encryption keys or introduce bugs into previously secure software.
That's fascinating.
That's a bit of an issue. They got microcode and BIOS updates that address the attacks, although it doesn't actually explain how. So presumably they just block that feature. So that sucks. You're not going to be able to undervolt this, but let's be honest, how many people really tune a laptop? Like, I feel like this is part of the enthusiast community that I've just never talked to.
Asus laptop, Republic of Gamer laptops come with a ton of overclocking hardware built into them.
Yeah, and
yeah, I know. I'm sure. Like, there are some really high-end things that do that, but it's like I've just never interacted with
Chris,
that.
I need to call you out for a moment. You are exactly the kind of person who would undervolt your laptop for fun.
You're right, but also shut up.
I mean, need I bring up the Cluster Pi laptop that you were going to build?
First of all, it wasn't a cluster Pi because I think Pi clusters are stupid because they use ARM. It was going to be Coffee Lake because I found some ITX motherboards. And then I realized that, wait, this is stupid. I can just buy that one ASRock X299 ITX board and drop an 18-core in there.
No, but this was.
And then I get AVX 512.
No, I'm calling you out because you and I were discussing this for a good 5 months.
Yeah.
And then eventually, and then eventually, we came to our senses.
Yeah. It costs money. That's the problem. I need that money to get a new door.
For his car.
No, that's what insurance is for. And more specifically, her insurance.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah, no, it's you're right. You're probably right. That seems like the kind of thing I do, and please don't call me out like this.
Too bad. It's too late.
Friends, Mom, please.
Anyway,
Mom,
moving
I'm
on,
being cyberbullied.
It's been too long.
Oh,
I
yeah.
blanked out, like Chris blanked out.
Alex, I'm going to go ahead and grab this article because I want you to do the next one.
Okay, wait. Yeah, well, yeah, I wanted to do the next one, so you do this one. You do the...
Yep. Yeah, so recent announcement from Samsung Display, the subsidiary of Samsung that just produces monitor screens and such along those lines.
And nice ones, honestly.
Yeah, some of the best. So it has been announced that Samsung Display will be canning all of their LCD production in South Korea and China by the end of 2020. Now, this got a lot of traction because, oh my gosh, Samsung's killing all their displays. No, they're just killing the traditional.
Can I ask?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, no one can read, basically. Everyone sees
God, me
Samsung
IRL.
kills display. They don't go LCD display.
Exactly.
So yeah, they're going to still make the quantum dot.
Well, so
and OLED.
That's not for the record.
AMOLED.
For the record, quantum dot isn't just a marketing term. That is a real thing with nanoparticles.
Yep.
Same way as IPS isn't technically a marketing term, but it is.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Same way as AMOLED isn't, but it is.
So there was a couple things with that. The big thing is that they're absolutely still pushing forward on the OLED and AMOLED displays. So that's not going away.
Because it makes them tons of money by selling their best displays to Apple and then taking the secondhand ones for themselves.
Right. But the big thing
funny.
is the factories that they're specifically referring to are their LCD exclusive factories. They're working on retrofitting them now to support the AMOLED, OLED, and I think Samsung is getting into micro LED now. So, but the big question was they still did mention quantum dot, and quantum dot has been only associated with LCD displays. So after doing some digging, it has been determined that they're working on moving the quantum dot technology over to the micro LED and OLED sectors. So it sounds like they're quite literally phasing out their LCD production entirely in favor of the newer, better technology.
They're still making,
Which is fair because LCDs kind of suck.
are they still making those
Yeah, it's probably a good thing.
with the organic technology,
So what?
LEDs, or is that not a thing anymore?
Wait, can you repeat that question?
Are they still doing like LCDs with organic technology, or no?
Frick.
I think you're getting a couple things.
Frick, did you just think AMOLED is organic?
No, there is a kind of
No.
doing for
I
a
think he's
while.
thinking of OLCD.
Something like that. Yeah,
What does OLED stand for? Yeah, organic LED.
Yes.
are they still doing those, or is that gone too?
Ooh,
I'm not-
LCD and organic light. Oh,
Yeah.
thanks, Wikipedia. That's the wrong thing. Okay, I'm sorry.
If they were even doing that technology, and I don't know if they were, yes, they would be phasing it out in favor of just LED based tech,
Oh no.
which is fine because, quite frankly, OLED and micro LED are significantly better than LCD ever will be.
Yeah. I have an
Yeah,
LCD TV and it consumes 100 watts and looks terrible and is also 10 years old.
Nice.
Yeah, I've also got a
15.
weird feeling that LCD is probably a lot worse for the environment end to end than OLED. I don't know why. I just feel that it might be. No, just like the materials that are involved with an OLED screen versus an LCD screen.
I feel like it's a similar parallel to like going from plasma screens to LCD screens.
God, plasma screens were so cool, though. They have plasma in them. That's awesome.
Thanks,
They have
Chris.
like the best black levels of any screen technology on the market.
I think they have the worst black levels of any screen technology on the market.
What you're
God.
probably thinking of is OLED, because OLED, it's pure black. The LED turns off.
Yeah.
So plasma's the
That's
worst and OLED's the best?
Yes.
Oh, I just Googled plasma, and the first thing that pops up is COVID-19 alert.
Oh.
We're totally
Oh, is this something about blood plasma? It's probably that.
we're
Yeah.
totally
Who
tired about
cares?
hearing about that 15 hours a day.
I turn on 24-hour news so I can turn my brain into jelly.
That's a hell of a way to make some money right now. Go get some plasma donations, make an easy $150. Woof. There's your money. There's how you pay for the door, Cynical.
No?
I think you have-
that.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, that's a thing that college students do all the time. Like my high school biology teacher told me that he would, when he was in college, he would just go donate plasma and then use it for beer money.
Yeah.
And he said that one of the biggest advantages was that you got drunk real fast.
That's a pretty well-known pro
You're
tip.
doing a good thing at the end of the day, and you're also getting paid for it. So there's really no downside.
Yeah, no, you're doing a good thing for everybody but yourself. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff grows back, so I don't think you have to worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah, so does your liver. I'm going to donate my liver and then use the money to buy beer.
You know, liver is actually one of the, I think, top 3 healthiest foods on the planet.
What is?
Liver.
Liver.
Oh, yeah.
Human liver or...
No, I don't think human liver. Definitely not human liver, but I think like
Okay, just so we're clear.
Yeah, like cow liver and chicken liver.
actually, I found this article the other day. Real quick, do you guys know what the healthiest per density, like per food on the planet is per gram?
Blackberries.
Butter.
Meal, like one of those meal replacement shake things.
Ooh, no, the healthiest food on the planet per gram for like vitamins, nutrition, all that stuff is actually parsley or Swiss chard.
I was going to say Flintstone gummy vitamins.
Pretty good.
I now just have this bad vision of somebody taking a bunch of parsley and just eating it.
That's everything you could possibly need to live. It has
Put the parsley in the Simmons.
Wait, everything? Parsley doesn't have protein, does it?
Well, you don't need.
Oh my god, no!
You could just make your
Rick.
own protein. It's
Is this
fine.
like one of those stories where it's like, if you only eat rabbit, you'll die? But no one only eats rabbit.
I think I've eaten rabbit once and it was pretty gamey, but no.
No. But like the comparison is
you
if
have
you
to like only eat rabbit, like literally nothing else.
There's no. Well, what is one food that you could eat for the rest of your life and never get tired of it?
A meal replacement shake. Oh, never get
Cheesy
tired of it. Probably
potatoes.
nothing.
dill pickles.
Dill pickle.
Pickled eggs.
No,
Simmons, shut up.
Simmons, what is wrong with you?
Something that I could eat
things.
for the rest of my life that I wouldn't get tired of would probably be cyanide that tastes really good, because there's no risk of me getting tired of it.
Spicy flavor that the kids love.
Yeah, you got it.
All right, let's move on
Anyway.
to the next article now.
Moving on from Chris's death desires, we have
It always comes to death at some point, doesn't it, Chris?
Like, it's okay. I'm a millennial. This is expected of me.
Okay. Anyway, so I mean, this is technically from The Verge, but it's from tons of different sources, and we've kind of been
Ha!
seeing.
The Verge. They built a computer bad.
But they still built it.
They finished building it? Wait, did they ever confirm that it actually worked?
Yeah, they turned it on, but they just did a bad job.
Anyway,
It's only been how long since that happened, and Reddit's still making jokes about it because they have no original content. Anyway, go on.
Chris, you made a joke about it.
No, it's okay. It's a meta joke because I was referencing the people who make the joke.
The meta makes it funny.
Yeah, that is
Anyway.
like regular humor, but
Chris,
clever.
pretending to be retarded.
Chris. Anyway, so obviously with COVID-19 being kind of a big issue, loads of sports are being cancelled, postponed, etc., and this is no exception to motorsports. NASCAR, F1, both have been
IndyCar as well.
suspended,
V8 supercars.
and it looked. Oh yeah,
And
that
one of them has
Three of them
switched
have,
to
one
a
of them
good
hasn't.
simulator.
Chris. Oh, goodness. Anyway, so yes, in light of this, a lot of them have taken it virtual, because the great thing about motorsports and racing is that there are really good sims that try and replicate this stuff. And one of the most popular and one of the most prevalent coming up now is iRacing. I wouldn't say coming up now; it's been a thing since like 2004. But it started as like a NASCAR simulator, and it's really, really good. A lot of professional drivers used it anyway before this to kind of just get a little bit of faux practice time,
Offline
or just have
practice,
some fun.
essentially.
Well, actually online.
Well,
yes.
Off the track practice, because it's not like you can practice NASCAR in your backyard.
Really?
Anyway, so what's really great about this is there's NASCAR events being streamed on like Fox and ESPN. I think one of the NASCAR events was actually one of the most viewed gaming events or something like that. I can't remember exactly, like one of the most viewed esports events. And it's actually really, really cool to see that they're taking this up in sort of, instead of just not doing it. The slight negative side of this is where extreme capitalism comes into play. And that basically is with F1. So F1 and Codemasters have a lovely relationship where Codemasters owns the right to F1 game distribution, or making F1 games, licensing F1 cars for games. That would be fine if they did a decent
Lando
job.
Norris uninstalled F1 2019 today on
Nailed.
stream.
You keep jumping ahead, but basically, F1 hosted its first virtual Grand Prix today, which was in Melbourne, and they only did 50% distance for some reason, but it doesn't really matter. There were 20 participants, involved past champions like Jenson Button, Nicholas Latifi, George Russell, Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, and sim streamer like Jimmy Broadbent, and a cricket personality. I actually forgot his name now.
What?
He actually did fairly well. Like, he was only 2 seconds off of pole
That's really
pole qualifying.
fascinating. It's like of all the professions, and you're actually really good at this.
Cricket. All right.
Yeah. And there were like, WEC people there as well as actual sim, like, the F1 sim that they'd use to test the cars, and they were also participating and stuff like that. And, they've done this before to test it out, and while Lando or other people didn't disconnect during qualifying, they managed to get a qualifying in. They got booted out as soon as the race started because Codemasters coding is crap.
Not very
basically.
good.
Miserable at best.
Yeah, you tried to join the race and it just said too many people in the race and kicked them out.
Oof.
And there were over 190,000 people watching this on YouTube, over 80,000 people watching this on Twitch for F1s alone. Lando's had about 100,000 viewers when it looked like he was going to race. Jimmy had about 20,000 viewers. So there was a lot of eyes on this, and consistent Codemasters bugs kind of kept creeping through. Cars glitching, lag, etc.
Okay, so that's extremely funny.
Yeah, it was not good. And then Lando Norris, who is a current McLaren F1 driver, well, another driver called him and kind of asked what happened. He said, well, got disconnected. It's a great game. And then he proceeded to uninstall the game on Twitch, and he said, well, I don't think they're going to like me for this, but the game's crap, so it doesn't matter.
For like breach of contract or something.
I would
It's just a fun thing. Like half the drivers aren't even doing it.
A lot of the like 6 or 8 of the current drivers are doing it. Every one of the drivers know that it's not a simulator is the best way to put it.
What's up?
Yeah.
This company that's doing the driving. Oh my god, dude! This company has.
Sorry, can you explain the company that does the driving?
This F1 company. I looked them up while you were talking. This is like the shadiest company I've ever seen in my life. The amount of scandals and like corruption.
Oh, Codemasters.
No, the F1.
FIA.
This F1 person. Whatever it is.
Wait,
Dude,
what are okay? You got to give us more context.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, Jimmy Broadbent, he's known for his scandals.
I'm reading about hella scandals and hella corruption.
No.
Hella corruption.
Of what?
Of what?
Hang on, I'll find the article.
What?
It's like maybe that's a reason that they're like.
What? Aren't you reading the article?
Frick, you have no idea what you're talking about. So there's the FIA, which is the governing body for motorsports, for a lot of motorsports. F1 is one of the subdivisions. This is not related to the physical sport.
I just looked.
This is related to a virtual.
This is what showed up was the F1 people.
Frank, are you just reading clickbait articles on purpose?
I know. That's what came up.
Oh my god, Frick is a grandpa.
Okay, look. Sorry, everyone. We're we're gonna ignore what Frick says. Frick, just don't worry about it.
Frick, stop making words come out the mouth.
So
When it comes to cars.
It's kind of annoying that F1 just can't go to iRacing and do some of the open wheelers there. It would be a lot better to see, but in the meantime, the NASCAR one is really, really cool to see. And I wonder if it's a weird glimpse into where things might go to actual keeping this going.
Oh, dude.
Maybe not with the current NASCAR drivers, but having like as they called it, an e-NASCAR event that could be a feeder series into NASCAR.
E-NASCAR for my e-girls. You know what would be really neat? And I kind of want to do this now that I had the idea. I want to do this to start chaos. Now that we are seeing race car mans do this digitally, get like some environmental group to say, well, this is a lot better for the environment if we do it like this. Sign my petition. It would probably make Reddit angry at the very least.
Well, I guess that's just a dumb comment. F1's a lot more carbon neutral. F1's a lot more carbon neutral than other sports. It's more carbon neutral than Formula E,
Electric cars,
for example, which is
the electric
kind of
car division.
Yeah. So the cars make up they make basically nothing up with regards to the emissions. It's all about the flying circus getting around. So F1 has a lot more pressure on it, I think, than Formula E, just because people go, oh, it's a race car. It must have lots of emissions.
Oh, electric cars, those are good for the environment. I don't know how the environment works.
What are these people saying these things?
Frick, the same kind of people that Google F1 conspiracy and then just find some crap article.
I found the documents.
Okay, Frick has the docs.
All right.
Frick, just stick to candy.
Okay, Alex, come on. That's a little too far, don't you think?
No.
Oh.
Anyway, so next topic. Do you want to introduce this one, Simmons?
Yeah, sure. Why not? All right. So, new announcement as of March 24th. So we're a little bit behind on this one, but UPS has announced that they are developing delivery drones with, they say Wingcopter. I'm not sure if that's a actual company. I think
Wingcopter is. Are we doing like what are they? What's the one helicopter that's like its only purpose is to just crash? The tilt rotor one.
What?
Any copter you would make.
The V-22, the Osprey. I think that's the one.
What?
Okay, I'm moving on.
Never mind.
So
Learn your
Wingcopter
military
is a
aircraft.
German drone manufacturer. So UPS, the American shipping company that has spread around the world and is notorious for throwing packages at your door, is now going to be dropping your packages from 1,000 feet. No, that's a joke.
God, that sounds cool.
They,
Do you know, you say that as a joke, I can totally see that happen.
I know that's or you know these drones flying through less accepting regions of the world where people are likely to shoot down the drones with shotguns.
AKA the Deep South.
Yes. So yeah, it doesn't appear that they have any officially developed drones for this purpose, but they are currently working on making specialized drones for package delivery from distribution centers that are just conveniently placed around major regions. More to come on that as stuff actually happens with it. Because like Amazon's got their drone service, but really it has not made a whole lot of progress.
What's going on with Amazon stuff? I know they announced they were going to do it in special cities, but is it active now? Could you actually order a drone delivery?
I mean, they did some test runs in a few regions, but I don't know if they were able to guarantee reliability due to having to deal with environmental regulations and people regulations.
Regulations. Dude, there was a while ago, there was this delivery service. I'll see if I can find the article where it was basically like a little scooter, like an armored scooter would go around and it would deliver things for you. So imagine this big giant trash can on wheels going from one warehouse to your location, and that's how you would get your delivery. The problem that they found,
what if the scooter had
where
gone?
people were like going around, they were like beating up the delivery, and not even like stealing it, just like kicking it around and beating it up and just throwing it all over the place. So they couldn't really.
I would kill the robot scooter.
It was the weirdest thing, like this thing that people haven't thought about with like autonomous delivery systems is that people are insane and they just beat things up for no reason.
Well, but that's the thing. Is like, in order for this type of delivery to really gain some grounds, it's going to take a perspective shift. And right now, people are viewing these autonomous deliveries as, oh, this is weird and new, I'm going to mess with it. Versus once it becomes more commonplace, people are just going to start leaving stuff alone. Just like, oh, my valuable stuff might actually be in that trash can. So
I'll bring the article up for you. But there was a test a little while ago about which countries were the most accepting of like autonomous robot delivery machines. And what they did was they sent this little robot all over the world. Like they sent it to Canada, they sent it to like the UK, they sent it to like South America, all these places. And
it got to Detroit, and in like 15 minutes, it was just stripped for parts, wasn't it?
Thank you for bearing.
Yeah, what's that?
Thank you. Anyway, so they sent it all over the place to see like what people thought about it. Most people, since there was a webcam mounted to it, they could see how it was reacting to people, and everyone seemed to like it. You know, the majority of people in like Canada and UK and all these other places, they really seemed to like it. And then it got to the US, and for a while it was fine. and then it hit like either New Jersey or Detroit, and then the thing
it was destroyed.
Yeah, well, no, not only was it destroyed, but there's a video of it, and it's the anger behind it was just, there was no reason for it. Because here's the
live leak for robots.
No, dude, this robot,
gosh, no.
It didn't just look like a walking trash can. It had like a smiley face on it, and it was very happy, and it was.
Are you though?
I was gonna say, did you get the download link for the old one?
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay, good.
Send the new one.
We'll just mix this with no continuity.
Yay!
Jump cut.
Just
so check it out.
chuck it in.
Can we do the clap again?
That's what it looked like. And that's what it looked like after it hit Philadelphia.
Oh, it was Philly.
They
To
decapitated
fill you
him.
in, we just had a bit of technical issues. That's why there was probably a bit of a jump.
No, there wasn't. I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
I didn't know until you said anything, Alex.
Yeah.
Well,
What are
no,
you talking about?
Wait, should we do this for the extras bit and move on to the next topic?
No, because we need to do an outro.
What? What? No?
You
What
can't
is an
just
outro
end
if not
a
an
podcast.
intro?
No, we're not
Yes, you
ending the
can.
podcast.
Okay, so anyway, let's just move on to the next article. Axie,
Yes.
you want to get this one?
Yeah, sure. So, in some more news on Microsoft's well-known flight simulator that's been seemingly being developed for ages and delayed. Back at E3 2019, it was announced there's amazing graphics. They were planning to use real-time weather data and a bunch of nice things like that. Well, the next step is now they plan to introduce using real-time flight data. Now, whether this is going to be actual real-time or just copies of it to kind of populate planes in the sky when you're playing, yet to be determined. But they're also adding more modes of gameplay. You're going to be able to either have a really loose all-players mode, so people doing chicken and backflips and treating their little tiny tri-wing scooter like a space shuttle, or you could decide to play in just a straight actual role-playing mode with flight plans and actual tower. Get rid of the live
God, I
flight
want them to
sim
scramble
data.
the jets at me.
As for the flight sim data, if you do lose your online connection, which I mean, in today's day and age, is that even possible?
Yes.
They do plan to implement some pretty powerful AI to keep those planes going, so you mostly seamlessly continue to just see the air traffic doing its thing, so you can just keep playing.
That's actually pretty fascinating.
Yeah,
And-
and
I like
the weather is realistic is also a pretty big thing. You just fly over Paris. It's raining in Paris at the time. Well, you'll see a nice storm there. You can turn off weather if you want, and you control all those yourself in your own kind of all players mode. Design your own flight plans. The terrain is going to be a pretty big upgrade too. You're going to have
Oh wow,
two-
terrain and a flight sim.
well,
That's a big thing.
2
actually.
petabytes of Bing maps are going to be available for this thing, including full topographical data.
Oh,
So you can
boy.
have actual mountain ranges, valleys, and hills and everything to crash your planes into.
So that's
They
like
plan
2
to
gigs
use
of Google Maps data, right?
I don't get it.
Don't get what?
Don't worry, that's just the autism.
Damn, that's right. I have that.
You turn your computer off with the monitor button, don't you?
Damn.
I'm not
So
really
you
sure
can
what to
find
say
your
to that.
ex-girlfriend's house and then just kamikaze into it.
But yeah,
Sounds like a
can.
neat option.
I'm actually
So-
looking forward to this flight sim. I mean, I haven't played since like probably late 2000s actual flight sims. But seeing like they're gonna have realistic water flow based on wind patterns, actual vehicles populating the roads, full 3D building. So like 3D Google Maps mode. So you can actually see all the build would be 3D. They use satellite imagery to build the 3D models using photogrammetry. It's if they manage to pull all this off, it's going to need a pretty beefy graphics card. But if it's all done server side for all the 3D and everything, it might let a lot of new people get into flight sims.
So I have a couple
You
questions
can't
for you,
render things
actually.
remotely.
So have they announced whether this is going to be MMO style or on individual server basis?
They haven't announced the server architecture yet, but with all the AI and everything else built in, I'm assuming it's going to have to be, for the most part, server-based in Azure or something if you want to do all the real-time data. But like previous flights, and from everything I've seen so far, it will have, you can host your own, which will be limited to you probably downloading some lower quality versions of different areas. So like different regions or whatever. And you can set up your own custom lobbies with different rules, whether you need to follow flight plans or custom weather patterns. You want us to make a massive Bermuda Triangle over top of the entire state of whatever.
Can I get the FAA mad at me?
They probably already are, but probably not with this game.
I don't know what I did this time.
This time. I was going to say...
collection of blue laser pointers that he has in his house. He doesn't know what he did.
First of all, they're green laser pointers, and second of all, it's my constitutional right to shine them at the runway, officer.
No, it's not.
No.
You cannot shine lights onto someone else's private property. That's actually in Canada.
That's right.
Least,
that would be
you legally can't
that
shine
would be
lights.
my photons violating the non-aggression pact.
That's a weird thing. Dude, there's this community of people out there that are like hardcore flashlight enthusiasts. I used to be a part of them for a while. And
of course you did.
what you find is like, okay, you know how people get like big giant hard-ons for like clock speeds and all that stuff, or like, oh, it gets this many, like, I don't know, whatever it is that graphics cards are measuring.
It's lumens. They're going for lumens.
Hard-on for lumens, they go crazy for them. They're like, oh, look at all these lumens. It's 15,000 lumens. It's 100,000 lumens in my hand.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy. So I can understand that in Canada, there's a lot stricter rules on that, but if you guys want to get into the underground flashlight community, keep it to the U.S. Do a lot.
Wow!
All
right.
so
I don't
in
know if
Canada
we're
it's
actually
pretty nice.
Well, why do they got to be underground, Frick?
It's dark there.
Yeah, it's dark. That's where the flashlights work.
And then I did want to provide some speculation. I'm assuming that based on this AI system that you were referring to, they're probably just going to be pulling like the publicly available radar maps of the various planes and just making assumptions as to what planes are actually flying at set altitudes, at said location coordinate. Because a lot of the flight paths, especially from the United States perspective, they're all mapped out. Commercial jets will always take one of 5 different routes going to X location. So it could probably be pretty easy, not really easy, but simpler to populate the airspace with various airplanes. The only thing that concerns me is I don't think the radar feeds update fast enough for areas around, like, say, airports where there is controlled airspace and routes that you have to take when you're waiting to land. So I'm wondering how they're going to handle something like that.
Yeah, that's yet to be seen. But I'm assuming that if they're going to be powering this with AI and they're going to be looking at flight data of pilots, that might not be available to the general public, but they might use that to build, queuing of takeoffs and landings or redirections of flights if there's too much traffic in the area. Let's say a bunch of players decide, we're just going to launch a bunch of hot air balloons from LAX. Well, now those planes, you got to find somewhere to go. Hopefully the AI can handle that.
Well, and I think one of the fascinating ones is, like, especially with how the pilots in the U.S. have to be regulated. Like, they obviously receive a ton of training for, hey, there's a hurricane here, we should not fly directly through that. But then some foreign carriers, they don't care. So I have seen it where a Boeing 737 flew directly into a typhoon off the coast of Japan because that was the shortest route to the airport. So,
Simmons, I bet it would be really cool. Like, you could save a lot of fuel flying into a hurricane, but only if the spinny bits are at your back.
Chris never become a pilot.
If the spinny windy is in front of you, then it uses more fuel. But if it's behind you, then it's okay.
Chris never be a pilot.
How many schools have
Thank you for a technical term.
He actually just graduated from college several months ago.
He graduated.
Wow, shut up, Simmons. Yeah, I got a PhD now. I'm a doctor.
No, you don't. You haven't been to your master's program yet.
I call myself a doctor on the internet. Also, what idiot goes for a PhD but gets like a dedicated master's in the meantime? Oh, I probably just offended a bunch of people today. Don't do that. That's silly.
I got my
skilled
PhD
trades of the future
in 2 months, so I don't know what the problem is.
What?
I mean,
Tool is still around, by the way, just so you know.
I was gonna say I legitimately got my master's degree in 6 months, but that was hell.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that does it for tonight. So,
Does it though? Does it?
You don't want to do any off topics?
I think
we've been
Axie
off
owes me an
topic.
apology for bullying me so much.
No, he
I'm
doesn't.
not getting it from
That was deserved.
Oh,
was
yeah.
I was gonna say, but before we wrap up, then, actually, is there anything that you want to talk about, or any projects that you've been working on, or stuff along those
Any
lines?
cool things to shill?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, folding's already been kind of covered. I've been doing a lot of PC recoveries for people now that all my friends seem to want to get back into gaming with their old systems now that they're stuck at home. So I currently just actually finished repurposing my old X370 and 700X for my buddy who had a old Bulldozer FX 8350 that just died on him.
Oh, God.
And a 7950 HD.
Wow, have we really reached the point that Ryzen can be considered old?
No.
A 70,
He
I'd
just
say
said
the
old.
1000 series Ryzen at this point, I think, is old, considering that 3000 is easily doubling it in gaming performance and PCIe and everything else. I'd say, yeah, Ryzen 1000
PCIe 4 is a
old.
load of crap outside of data center. I'm not buying it for GPUs, not yet. Hell,
Well,
even
not
like
for
PCIe 2 is good for
But
GPUs.
like,
it's
I had to
fine.
build my server with PCI 3.0 in mind to get 10 gig networking, and 4.0 I want X570 because I know that 40 gig NIC cards at X4 are coming out.
Oh,
and
you're doing okay.
on
So you're doing
consumer
cool
networking,
stuff
you're
with
still
hardware.
kinda
You're not
limited.
a gamer. Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. We're talking data center here. So yeah, no, you've got a reason for
Oh,
it.
no. This is my home lab. I'm not even
Yeah.
home lab. That's just for me to transferring network files because I hate waiting longer than 10 seconds for an ISO file to transfer.
Yeah, valid.
I was gonna say,
Also-
actually, something that you were talking about before we started recording. So it was something with that 7950 driver.
Yeah, so the 7950, I figured I'd have to install the legacy driver, the old Catalyst Control Center driver in Windows 10.
God.
Turns out the 7950 is still fully supported DirectX 12 by the latest Adrenaline driver, while the redheaded stepchild of AMD, the R series, the R7, R5, R7, and R9s, 300s, are for the most part not supported fully by the Adrenaline, and you actually get better support from the Catalyst Control driver, the legacy, especially if you want OpenCL.
AMD fine one my butt. No, they aren't. They're weaker than AMD's low-end garbage.
So you
They're
say that,
relatively better than NVIDIA, and they should have been at the start.
Currently
AMD
have
just makes
the
bad drivers.
1700X and the 7950 folding, and the 7950 is averaging right now with some stop and go pausing because the fans are stupid loud during this podcast, around 150,000 points per day on a 7950.
What?
Yeah,
Wait, since when? That thing averaged like 80,000.
I know. I am stopping and going, but with the new units, I have a feeling that they finally managed to optimize the units for OpenCL instead of just CUDA, because in the move to Vulkan, like I can't wait for folding at home to move to Vulkan compute, because then that's going to open up a whole new set of hardware that can fold and way better and easily optimize and open source stuff. And then if Stanford can open source building units, then you can have anyone they want just, here, analyze my robotic vision code or something, and companies can just pay people to just download these units.
That would be really fascinating. I'd be more so concerned about how they would have to vet these open source work units, but I think that's a really fascinating idea. Just make it so people can just propose their own projects and run with it.
Well, like the company I work for, we're doing a lot of AI-based vision learning for drones and self-driving forklifts, and analyzing different patterns in the minds of how the drifts work and have the most efficient path to drive from one level to another. And if we could just farm those out to a bunch of people who just want to help with mining, and they can get a small cut of profit or something from whatever we do to pay for their hydro, that would be huge for us. We'd get the research done faster, and people would be able to also get paid for lending their computers.
And oh gosh, my brain shut down. Thank you, Chris. No, I wanted to clarify that he was referring to actual mining and not crypto mining.
That's right.
Actual mining, like copper and nickel, platinum, palladium, all that wonderful stuff. Because mining is huge in Canada still, and that's what's keeping me out of actual work or in work, because mining is still an essential service in Canada. So I get to keep working from home.
Cool.
Anyway, I think we can wrap it up here. We can move on to some of the off-topic stuff in the Extras podcast.
One last thing. I just saw this on Twitter. Apparently, Cooking Mama Cookstar uses your Nintendo Switch to mine cryptocurrency, and the publisher is owned by the Koch brother who isn't dead.
Okay, and on that note, we're going to move and kill the episode now.
I don't know what's going on here, but it sounds pretty neat.
Well, join us for the Extras podcast. And in the meantime, thank you everyone, for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for inviting me into your living room this evening.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Anyway, goodbye and good night.
Goodbye.